be shellfish. Do your part to protect our ocean. I'm Stephanie Tucker, and welcome to EcoVision. The ocean is a really important part of our environment. Did you know that 94% of life on Earth is aquatic? As a province founded on the fisheries, it's fair to say that it's everybody's responsibility to take care of our ocean. I mean, we're surrounded by it. So today, we're diving into some of the exciting aquatic initiatives happening right here at home. Ever been to the Petty Harbour Mini Aquarium? We paid them a visit to check out some of the local marine life.
My name is Pam, and I am the program coordinator here at the Petty Harbour Mini Aquarium.
My name is Meredith Schofield, and I'm the curator at the Petty Harbour Mini Aquarium. The Petty Harbour Mini Aquarium is a nonprofit catch and release aquarium. What this means is all the animals in our exhibits are collected locally by a team of scientific scuba divers and brought to the mini aquarium for a short stay in the summer. And then those animals are released back to the exact same bays, harbors where they were first collected in the fall when we closed down for the season.
So the Petty Harbour Mini Aquarium's mission is to foster curiosity to inspire change. So through our school groups and our camp groups and our evening groups, we use kind of that as a way to guide our conversations. We start by getting everybody excited about the animals that are local, and then we use that to guide the conversation into things that they could change in their daily life to be more sustainable.
When visitors come down to the aquarium, we have our 30 exhibits that people can look through.
We have so many cool creatures in the aquarium.
Everyone that comes in the aquarium is usually amazed by how much we have in our ocean waters. I guess typically people think you have to go down south, down to like tropical reefs to find all kinds of different cool, fascinating creatures, which is true, there's lots down there. But we have just as much fascinating creatures in our waters, just right out on our doorstep. We like to include hands-on learning with the visitation process. We feel that up-close and personal experience really gets people interested and curious about the marine life in our oceans. So in the front we have like our anemone touch tanks, as well as the gross and slimy moon snails. And then in the back area we have our sea stars and sea urchins, sand dollars, sea cucumbers, lots of fun things, lots of fun facts our interpreters love to tell people about when they're coming down.
One of the coolest that we have right now, I think, is probably the wolffish.
One of my favorite animals to feature and talk about at the aquarium right now is the Atlantic wolffish.
I think they're terrifyingly handsome.
It's a very large fish that we have down in the aquarium.
They've got these like huge teeth and this awesome teeth on the inside of their roof of their mouth as well. They can use to chomp like urchins and crabs and stuff.
Despite their ferocious look, they're actually quite gentle and would only go after other wolffish and are pretty innocent towards humans, so nothing to worry about. There's so many fun things I can say about them. They're fantastic fathers and form bonding pairs during the breeding season, so a lot of parental care.
And they're just, I think he's very handsome, but he's also a very interesting species. The teeth are what get me.
One thing I like to talk about when we're talking about the wolffish is they're actually listed as a species at risk under the SAEN registry. So they're listed as a special concern right now. They've seen like 90% decline in their populations since the 1970s. Most of that is due to bycatch. They're very sensitive to human activities. So with the wolffish, if they're ever caught as bycatch, it's really important that they're put back in the water.
We kind of try and phrase it in that when you're trying to look into protecting the local waters, people ask us about this a lot. It's not as hard as you might think. It kind of starts at home, and you can start with just these little things like bring a reusable coffee mug, or just being aware of how much waste you're producing. Past weekend, we were talking about marine debris and microbeads. And so that's kind of something that we talk to about people, just being wise in the products that you're buying and how you're buying them. And so because it's such a small space downstairs, we're a mini aquarium, we have the chance to have these conversations with people and just kind of chat with them about what their daily life entails and some small changes that they could make. It's not as hard as you think to conserve our waters. When you're thinking about plastic waste in terms of single-use disposables like a coffee mug or microbeads, which don't always get filtered out by the wastewater system, so every year we collect capelin for our tanks. We also collect capelin to feed our animals in the aquarium. When you cut them open, or when you cut them up into smaller pieces to feed things, a lot of them have eggs inside because this is the time of year that they're spawning. And those eggs look just like microbeads. It's uncanny. They're exactly the same size. They're orange, but they have the exact same characteristics besides color. And so we feed them to our animals and they go nuts. They go crazy and they eat them. And so we use that as an opportunity when we're feeding downstairs with the capelin eggs to kind of say, all right, so look at what these fish are eating. Look how excited they are to eat it. Do you realize that a lot of the things that we use on a daily basis we're just completely unaware of? A lot of it makes its way out to the ocean because it's too small to be filtered out. And so a lot of people, we've done it this past weekend, and a lot of people don't realize how much plastic is in what we use every day, and it's such an easy thing to avoid. It's just knowing what to look for and just avoiding it, because then the companies are going to have to change how they produce their products because no one's going to buy it. It's got plastic in it.
Every single day there's so many exciting things that happen. It's a really unique and fun place to work. You kind of walk in and you don't know what to expect. One day we could have crabs molting in the corner, we could have fish spawning in another corner. There's always exciting things happening down at the aquarium.
We are always looking for new volunteers, so whether we have someone who wants to help out with interpreting downstairs or setup, or someone who's comfortable doing event planning or plumbing or sewing or puppet show making or anything, we'd love to have you on our team. If anybody wants to get involved, it would just mean contacting myself, Pam at the Mini Aquarium. So our contact information is on our website, or you can call us, 330-FISH.
So now that we've taken a look at life in the ocean, we're making our way upstream to our city rivers. The Salmon Association of Eastern Newfoundland is trying to restore the Atlantic salmon population in St. John's. We checked in to see what they were up to.
Hello, my name is Christoph Conrad. I have been with SAEN for just over a year, and I'm recently have been elected their president.
So my name is Taro Foley, and I am the SAEN Smolt Fence Technician for this year.
SAEN is an acronym which stands for the Salmon Association of Eastern Newfoundland. We are looking after the conservation of salmonids. Salmonids is a group of fish which are a family, so to speak, which are composed in Newfoundland of trout, the char, and the salmon.
Basically this year I am checking the smolt fence that we have built across the Qalipu River, and this year we're expecting to have our first out migration of the salmon smolt that we've placed in the rivers. Salmon have 3 different life stages. They have the par stage, which is their beginning. That's when they're the smallest. And after a few years in the river, once they've become mature, they're ready to go out to the ocean. So they will what's called smolt up. And once they get to a certain size, they will start to turn silver in color and then migrate out to the ocean and return as salmon. Salmon used to run naturally in the Rennie's River system, but due to pollution and on a few other unknown reasons, they've declined. So hopefully now we can reintroduce them and they will come back in full numbers.
The decline could be attributed to many things. The honest answer is we don't know. It could be whether it be pollution for a very long time. Sewage has been discharged through the river systems without any cleanup. So that might play a huge role in the salmon egg and then eventually parr development. It could be the reintroduction of brown trout, or the introduction of brown trout 100 years ago, which have then aided in conjunction with pollution. But these are all speculations. We do not know for sure.
The significance of this project is that salmon represent the king of fish. They're renowned around the world as the top angling experience. So it's a very important offer you can bring to people, especially with a river flowing right through the center of the city. It can bring in a lot of tourist revenue as well as jobs and stuff as well.
The long-term goals would be to develop a methodology to reintroduce salmon. That is what we are set up with the project committee. We are committed to this through our partnership with Conservation Corps, where we hire field technicians such as Taro to partake in this. But it's also to develop, to push the science side on this with a collaboration at the university, and to create a knowledge basis for all things salmon, so to speak. Conservation of the fish and also of the traditional fishing is very important.
Virginia River means a lot to me because I've done a lot of fishing there. It's a nice, quiet river, very personal. A few times when I've been walking up, I've actually had to stop fishing because there's been so much trash around that it's infuriating. I went back one day and from a 6-foot stretch of the river, I collected 3 jumbo garbage bags full of trash from the trees around there and from the water. In there I found a TV, a computer screen, a bike, a shopping cart, lots of shopping bags, pretty much every single piece of trash you can imagine. The main thing is that people really shouldn't litter. It prevents the fish from being able to travel upriver, and overall it looks disgusting and it's bad for the environment.
The general population is welcome to join us as a member of SAEN or to just have a look. And we have opportunities to get involved in the field, such as checking the trap on the weekends. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to get involved in exciting projects and to see how things happen. And all I can say is contact us and we'll take it from there.
I had no idea that Atlantic salmon could live in our city rivers. There's definitely a lot that we can learn when it comes to marine life. So with that in mind, we hopped on board a Coastal Connections voyage in Conception Bay. We joined Pat Wells, a teacher at Holy Spirit High, and his students to check out their hands-on ocean research project.
Hi, my name is Patrick Wells. I'm a science teacher at Holy Spirit High School in CBS. My name is Riley Etman, and I'm a student at Holy Spirit High School.
Hi, I'm Nick Slade, and I'm a student at Holy Spirit High. My name's Cameron. I'm a grade 10 student at Holy Spirit High, and we're out here doing a project on water salinity and pH levels for our Science 1206 class.
My students and I are conducting a project where we're examining the water quality within Conception Bay and trying to correlate the quality of the water with the presence of marine species.
We're doing some water testing and stuff and looking at different animals at the bottom of the sea. Check the pH level and different stuff like that to make sure the ocean's stable.
And we're trying to focus on problems with global warming, looking at ocean acidification. But also another problem with global warming is species that are not supposed to be here coming further and further south because the ocean is actually warming. One of the things that we had happen several years ago was on November 1st, we were out collecting one of our temperature arrays. And while we were coming in just south of Kelly's Island, a bluefin tuna, probably about 1,000 pounds, jumped out of the water on the side of my boat. It was really impressive. First I thought it was a pilot whale. And then I noticed that the fin was vertical, not horizontal. And then I saw the scutes, the small finlets on the back of the tuna, and it's like, wow, I had no idea that a tuna could be here so late in the season. But talking to fishers around, they say that there's tuna here even later than that. So again, something we didn't know, and something that the kids would find interesting, that the tuna are here all year round almost sometimes.
So we're out here on the boat to take some water samples from underneath the surface where the water isn't as contaminated with things like fresh water and just, pollution. So down there, the pH levels are different. The fresh water doesn't mess with it as much. You can get a clearer reading. Same thing with the salinity, because all the saltier water sinks down to the bottom because it's more dense. And yeah, so we just came out here for the day to take some water samples from the bottom, take back to the lab to test.
Right now we're currently tracking the pH of Conception Bay, and we're finding that the pHs are, within the safe, what we call the safe zones. We're around 8.1 so far.
We learned how the different pH levels affect the different living things in the ocean, how if the water is more acidic, it makes it harder for the things like the snails and everything on the bottom to develop and grow their shells. And if the pH level is low enough, they actually can't because they become water soluble. So they won't be able to build their shells or anything if the pH continues to lower.
A lot of scientists think that if we ever hit pH 7.5, really bad things are going to happen to the ocean. A lot of creatures have calcium carbonate shells and need to manufacture these. It's very difficult to do at the lower pHs.
We're learning about global warming and how that's affecting the ocean and the different sea creatures.
The students are collecting water samples, analyzing them in the lab, and we're hoping to actually satellite tag some blue sharks or some poor beagle sharks this summer so that we can track them. The tags themselves will actually send their data up to satellites and then back to us. It'll be location, water temperature, depth that the shark had been at previous to the surfacing, where the data would be sent to the satellite. So that allows us to sort of learn about the shark's ecology and place them in a temperature of water that they prefer, which, as we know, with global warming, the temperature of the water is changing. It's going to be increasing. So the sharks are going to have to modify themselves ecologically to adapt to our changing environment. We're trying to establish a baseline of water temperatures within Conception Bay that will give us a sort of a set point that we know where we are right now, and in the future, if things change, we have this point where we can refer back to.
We go out in the boat and we're testing different things like salinity and depth and all that, and temperature and all that stuff. And we do that by taking samples and using other devices to see how clear the water is and whatnot.
It's really important to collect data, especially long-term data. It tells us about trends within the ocean, and we're releasing this data to fishers or any of the public that want to have access to the data. The kids find it interesting actually when we look at surface temperatures and then we look at the bottom temperatures of the ocean just in Conception Bay. During the summer, we've found the temperatures rarely go above 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius, which is really cold. But the animals that live out there, the fish and the invertebrates, they're adapted to those conditions, and the kids find it fascinating.
Well, something cool we've seen all of the different like marine life. Like that's one thing where I wasn't really expecting to see when we came out here. But as we were attaching temperature probes to different crab pots and whatnot, we got to see all the marine life and whatnot that are out in the bay.
We pulled up a couple crab pots that we had on the bottom. They had we had temperature probes in them as well to see what the levels of temperature are like down on the bottom and on the surface up where the buoy is. And when we pulled them up, they had a few things like crabs and a few little snails and some sea cucumbers in them. Also sea stars. So after we pulled them up, we got a chance to look at them and hold them, and we were taught a few things about them, what they do, how they form, how they develop, all sorts of interesting things like that.
One of the things that we're trying to do is reach out to the public, and growing scientific literacy happens when you have something to remember science or relate science to. So relating it to the ocean, the fish, the sharks and things like that gives somebody a sort of a seed crystal to grow their knowledge from, and it helps with their memory. They remember things. It's impressive to them when they see tuna, when they see sharks, when they see plankton up close for the first time, and they realize just how much of an abundance we have out in the ocean and how important it is to protect it.
We checked in with Conservation Corps Newfoundland and Labrador's Nalcor Energy Lower Churchill Project Green Team, so they could teach us some small changes that can make a big difference.
So one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that using old types of toilets tend to be a little wasteful for water. So when you're considering maybe building a new home or renovating a bathroom, you could probably choose a low flush option. Instead of using about 13 liters of water, it only uses about 6 liters. Something that a lot of people don't know is that plastics in the ocean can be really dangerous. So things like plastic bags and balloons, when they're in the water, they look a lot like jellyfish. And so animals like sea turtles who eat jellyfish will eat the bags thinking that they're food and end up in not so great a situation. They could either like suffocate on them, or they'll eat a lot, they'll get full, but they get no nutritional value, so they actually starve. So I guess one tip would be to kind of control your plastic consumption. If you can, use reusable bags at the grocery store. That's always a better option, but if you can't, just make sure that the plastic bags are disposed of in a good way.
One great way to conserve water is to keep a pitcher of water in the fridge to get your cold glass of water instead of running the tap for several minutes. And that's a great way to reduce our wastage.
Taking a short shower is a really great way to conserve water because a typical shower will use between 2 and 5 gallons of water per minute. By taking a shorter shower, we can conserve our fresh water supply.
We really need to work together to keep our plastic bags out of our ocean. And you know what else needs to stay out of the ocean in Little Port Harmon? The invasive green crab. We checked in with the Qalipu Mi'kmaq First Nation Band Green Team there to see what they're doing about this problem.
So our project this summer was a population estimate with the green crab. The green crab are an invasive species in Newfoundland, so it's super interesting to see the populations here. They first came to Newfoundland in 2007, and they've been on the west coast since 2009. They're actually native to Europe, so they first came over on fishing boats, and they're doing really well here, actually too well. And they're really bad for the environment here. They push out other species such as the rock crab, and they eat other crustaceans such as clams, mussels, scallops, and like baby crustaceans, so like baby lobsters is one thing that people are really worried about. They're becoming really big predators here. So it's important that we keep their population down to make sure that the rest of the organisms living in the ocean aren't endangered.
Well, we just got to keep them under control to make sure that we preserve the integrity of the native ecosystem.
So our first week at our project, we caught over 2,000 green crab, and we tagged them with TFO's help.
Afterwards, we set our traps out again, and we continue to try and recapture the tagged ones to ultimately get a population estimate of the amount of green crab in the Port Harmon area.
And when we take them in our trailer, we process them, which means that we sex them, male or female, and we also measure them. So on the female, it's a bell shape underneath the tail. The tail is wider like a lobster, and the males are a triangle shape, so they're thinner. And we measure them through their carapace and also their abdomen, and then we also weigh them. So it's a great way to see, how many male versus female, what are the average size of them, just to get a better idea of the population, how they're growing and living here. I've gained a lot. There's a lot of different things that I didn't know, and now I'm pretty used to it. It just seems so natural now. Before I came here, I was really unsure about the different sex, so knowing what a male and female was, and a rock crab versus a green crab. But ever since the project started, we just do it every day so continuously that it's just like breathing. You pretty much know when you see a green crab, you know it's a green crab now. We've learned so much during this project. It's super cool to learn how the tides work. Every day we go out when the tides are low, and we try and stay away from when the tides are too high because it's a bit dangerous. It's also super interesting to learn about the populations of the green crab because the population is so high. So just in this month, July, we've actually caught over 10,000 green crab, which is it's just crazy because there's so many more than that, and it's going to be super interesting to see the population in the end.
I've learned a lot on this project, not just about green crab, but just other aquatic species and the like. Just seeing what you pull up in the traps, because we get a lot of flounders and mummy chugs, the occasional lobster. We get to see eels once in a while. One of our first days, we pulled an entire pot just full of eels. The entire thing was full, and I've never seen so many eels in my life.
My favorite part about working with the green team is just getting outdoors and helping, enhance and restore the environment. It's everything I'm super interested in. This is my second year with the green team, so I'm super excited to be back, and hopefully I will be again next year.
I go to school at CNA doing Fish and Wildlife Technician, and we've done a lot of work just being around animals, being outside and all this stuff, and I love doing all that. And being able to actually do a real marker capture project similar to the stuff we've actually learned about in school, and being in that kind of work experience, it's overall just been great.
Anyone who is interested in the environment, getting outside and learning, this is definitely the job for you. It's such a great learning experience. I love it. It's been a really fun summer here, and I can't wait to see what the project turns out to be. And we had a really great crew.
Well, that's it for today's episode of EcoVision. Join us next time as we'll be talking about something very near and dear to my heart: food. Thanks for joining us today in being a part of the change.